Saturday mornings in Cedar Hollow smell like kettle corn and fresh-cut grass. And if you're lucky, somebody's old radio is playing Marvin Gaye under the hum of the farmer's market. That's where I was minding my business, picking out peaches, arguing with a kid over which honey is better when I heard it. Hands where I can see them, loud, hard. I turned and suddenly it wasn't Saturday anymore. It was a stage. Two officers crowded a narrow aisle between a soap booth and a table of tomatoes. One was big jaw like a cinder block Officer Trent Marsh. The other was younger eyes flicking everywhere like he'd lost his keys at Deputy Evan Pike. They had a black woman on the pavement, knees grinding her skin against the asphalt, her summer dress yanked sideways. She said level, not trembling. "You're making a mistake." Someone gasped. Someone else dropped a bag of plums. Phones were up like a forest of tiny billboards. Marsh dumped out her tote like he was shaking change from a thief peaches, rolling a paperback of receipt. The receipt fluttered down face up. He looked at it and let it drop. I saw the moment he chose the story over the truth. "Shoplifting," he announced to no one and everyone. The girl on the ground, Renee Porter, looked straight at him. "Call your supervisor." Marsh smirked. "This isn't a movie." Then he hauled her up, and the seam on her dress tore with a sound I will never forget. Not an accident, a choice. The gas that ran through the crowd hit me in the chest. They shoved her into the cruiser. She caught the eye of a teenager live streaming and gave the smallest smile, not smug, not scared, just steady. The car pulled off, and Cedar Hollow, with its paper straws and hand-painted signs, learned what it feels like when a place forgets who it is. Now, if you don't know Renee, that's by design. She keeps a low profile, knows every rule in the book because she helped write a few of them. Former DOJ civil rights investigator Mao, with a little nonprofit folks, whispered about when the lights were off Civic Lantern. In that cruiser, sweat sticking to cheap vinyl and cuffs biting bone, she asked for her phone call. Got a landline instead. 3 words flat as a hammer, August 12, active. A pause, confirmed the voice said. Location, Cedar Hollow, Pine County. Public detainment. Dress torn. Stay silent. Extraction begins. That's when Act 2 started, not for her, for the town. Videos hit the internet before her fingerprints dried. One from above the flower stall showing Marsh grabbing fabric on purpose. One close enough to hear skin hit asphalt. The teen stream with thousands of people commenting all at once. You could feel the heat jumping out of the screen. Inside the station, fluorescent lights hummed like they always do when no one wants to think. Outside, the mayor, Lila Caraway, scheduled a press conference and practiced the words outside agitators in a mirror. Renee knows this dance, but she'd never had to step in it wearing a torn dress. She sat in a cell blanket on her lap, not angry building. An officer walked by, older guy, paused like he recognized her from somewhere decent. "Who's that?" he asked Marsh. Shoplifter, Marsh said, quick and careless. She ran. Renee looked him in the eye through the bars. "You're on record," she said. His jaw twitched. He kept walking. Meanwhile, across town, Noah Green, Renee's old colleague from DOJ, cracked his knuckles over a laptop in a motel room that looked like 6 other motel rooms. Civic Lantern started pulling receipts from everywhere: council minutes, budget footnotes, anonymous tips, body cam gaps where there shouldn't be gaps. A name kept popping up: Aegis Site, a private surveillance vendor that promised smart safety solutions. Predictive policing, but with a white-collar haircut. Someone had signed them into our town 3 years back and never bragged about it, which tells you everything. Mayor Caraway went on TV, flanked by uniforms. "We're committed to a full and fair investigation," she said, like she was reading a script someone emailed 10 minutes ago. Sheriff Cole Maddox stood beside her with a face that had never admitted a mistake in 40 years. "Selective footage," he grunted. "Narratives." The crowd outside City Hall didn't shout. They just stood there. No signs, no slogans. Witnesses aren't loud. They don't need to be. By afternoon, Civic Lantern published the Cedar Hollow dossier, a clean, brutal map. Aegis Site contracts buried under technology modernization costs split across departments so it wouldn't scare anybody. Timestamps where body cams should have captured force but didn't. A memo that said de-escalation optics like that was something holy. My phone pinged with a push alert before I could even finish skimming. Renee had reactivated her old account. Blue check still there. Dust shaken off and posted. This isn't about soap. It's about dignity. Cedar Hollow. I see you, America. Are you watching? Then the crack in the wall widened. Deputy Pike, the kid with the restless eyes, emailed Civic Lantern from a burner. I'm done lying. I have proof. He agreed to meet at the truck stop diner out on Route 10, where the coffee tastes like apologies, and the pie makes you forget what you came for. He didn't touch his mug. Renee slid into the booth across from him, like she had all the time in the world. He said soft, I didn't know who you were. She didn't rescue him. Doesn't excuse what you did. He nodded motionless, like if he moved, he'd break. They told us you might be embedded, he whispered. Aegis Sight flagged your number when it pinged a tower near the market. We were told to provoke, get a reaction on camera, make it clear. You didn't take the bait, Marsh snapped. Renee's mouth tightened just a hair. And you cuffed me while I was exposed. Pike flinched. I know. He slid over a thumb drive like it was radioactive internal chat logs, meeting notes, a list of phrases nobody wants tied to their name. She set a recorder between them. Say it again, she said. He did all of it, voice shaking, relief and shame, wrestling for space. That night, a judge signed an emergency order, server seizure. By morning, unmarked SUVs rolled into the precinct like ghosts with warrants. Agents started pulling drives, imaging desktops, collecting shred bins, because people who lie always forget the trash. Sheriff Maddox watched through his blinds. He didn't blink. Then news broke that Aegis Sight's CEO Damon Rusk had been found at his estate, a note that read more like a press release than a confession. Too clean, too fast. A package arrived at Civic Lantern's DC office an hour later, anonymous courier flash drive inside encryption that took 22 minutes to crack. And there it was, Project Prism, Directive 9, high visibility arrests, particularly women of color. Public humiliation triggers polarization. Polarization fractures coalitions. Read that again. It wasn't a bad day with a hot-headed cop. It was a business model. Renee went live from a motel chair, hoodie and tired eyes, a strip of fabric from her dress folded beside her. They planned this, she said. Not teary, not angry. Clear. Not just me. Us. They sold fear like cable packages. The clip exploded. Lawyers started calling. Teachers, nurses, church deacons. People who never say anything in public type paragraphs with their full names on them. That night, the street outside the station filled until you couldn't see asphalt, only faces still. And bright. No chanting, no taunts, the sound of a town that had decided to look. There's always one more door. Renee got a call blocked number, voice like gravel. He's hiding, it said. Lake Briar, his brother's place. She and Noah drove up the ridge roads, fog laying in the trees like a warning. Trent Marsh opened the cabin door looking 10 years older than he did that morning. Beard, uneven, eyes burned out. You won, he muttered. Why are you here? Renee stepped past him. Truth. I was told to make you lash out, he said, staring at his hands. When you didn't, when you stayed calm, I tore your dress. He winced on the word. They said it would polarize the narrative. He pulled a thin folder from a drawer, city contract with Aegis Sight, signed by city manager Victor Hale. Access to behavioral data, school records, social media. We were told it was analytics, he said. It was a list of who to keep in line. Renee put the recorder on the table again. Say it clean. He did. No one raised their voice. No one had to. Court was a furnace that week. The gallery was packed, candles floating outside the windows like a second sky. Renee stood in a navy blazer that didn't ask for permission and walked the jury through it like she was setting a table to receipt on the asphalt. The 3 videos, Pike's confession, Aegis Sight's instructions, the contract with Hale's tidy signature. The prosecutor hit play on a final clip, a security video from a municipal conference room, Hale circling women 25-40 on a whiteboard under high-impact visuals. He laughed in that clip. In the courtroom, nobody did. The judge, Carla Breton, steady as a metronome, dismissed every charge against Renee and recommended a federal grand jury for Hale Marsh Maddox. The state froze Aegis Sight's contracts. Reporters spilled into the hall like marbles. Renee didn't celebrate. She walked back to the place where it started, the market. The same vendor was there, the same jars of honey. No speeches, just a hand pressed to a heart. It was enough. That night, Renee sat on the motel bed and held up that torn piece of fabric. They thought this would be my shame, she said into her phone. It turned out to be their receipt. She listed names not of villains, but of witnesses: the teen with the live stream, the vendor with the corner camera, the boy who said she'd bought him lemonade first. Power counts on us being embarrassed into silence, she said, but I'm fresh out of embarrassment. Here's where I'm supposed to tell you everything is fixed. Ribbon cut, problem solved. It isn't. Victor Hale lawyered up. The sheriff's union started talking about morale. Some folks still say Renee should have been nicer, and yet, when she launched a little channel called Civic Lantern Stories, the first video passed 4 million views before sunrise. Not because people love outrage, because people love proof. So tell me, if you were standing in Cedar Hollow that day, would you have filmed or stepped in, or frozen like most of us do when the world tilts? Do you believe what we saw was a mistake or a strategy? Drop your city in the comments. Tell me the moment you realize optics can be a weapon, and if you've ever watched someone's dignity get stripped and felt that burn in your throat. If you want more stories where evidence does the talking and silence turns into a crowd that won't blink, hit subscribe. Justice isn't neat, but it's ours to stitch piece by piece until it holds.